The following video is concerning climate change. I'm not going to call it global warming anymore because that's not communicating correctly. Simply put, adding more energy to an engine usually heats it up, but an engine can drive a refrigerator. From our 865,000 mile across sun, our 7,917.5 mile across Earth reaches its 94 million and a half mile aphelion in July. That's the furthest from the sun in July. 2 weeks after the summer solstice, approximately. An easy-to-heat, land-dominated northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun and becomes hotter because the Earth is easier to heat up and cool down. And it reaches its 91.4 million mile perihelion. I'm pronouncing all of these wrong, that's okay. In early January, 14 days after the winter solstice, we're closer. A hard-to-heat ocean dominated south hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. The Earth is tilted. Now I'm going to point out a couple of things here. That differential that amounts to almost 400 Earth diameters of change and causes 7% thermal variability, dynamic range, is caused by a plus or minus 3% change, which means it has an overarching effect based on distance to the sun. And it's 3% change. It's not apogee and perigee. You can look those up and you won't get the right answer. Apogee and perigee are different. Now, variables like our moon and other things, lots of things, change the date and distance slightly each year, by about 2 days. Perihelion, Aphelion in 2024, January 2nd and July 5th versus January 4th and July 3rd for 2025. Now, again, we're talking 3% change, which works out to 7% change, because we're talking about one thing that affects, it's like the difference in diameter versus the radius. You're going to have to just, but it's more than a 6% change for a 3% change. So it has a compounding effect both directions. Well, it's not really that much, obviously, but you get the idea. Now, people immediately scream that, therefore, our distance to the sun is what's affecting the heat. But it happens during the wrong time of year globally. Because, again, we're dealing with the Earth having an atmosphere that moves around rather rapidly at, let's say 20 miles an hour, and the Earth is rotating on its axis. Okay? All right. Now, yes, some of you are screaming. I'm not talking to the ones that are screaming certain statements. I'll get to that at the end, because you do not deserve 100% of the attention. The sun's 11-year high and low light, sunspot, and magnetic activity cycle, which are tied to each other somewhat, not completely. There's a lag and lead effect on each of these, depending on what you're looking at. And any grand solar minimum and maximum energy outputs. We've been testing this for years. No, it's not NASA. No, it's not the scientists. No, it's not the satellites. You can actually do these tests on any mountaintop with a clear view of the sky that's above the cloud layer. There's lots of them all over the planet. Anybody can check this. You do not have to use a satellite. You can just use literally a solar panel stuck on top of a mountaintop that is regularly not exposed to cloud layer. The extreme upper atmosphere on the top of mountains makes this possible. Saying somehow a giant conspiracy can escape literally not even first-year grad students in college, but high school students who can just build the equipment to test this. Every solar panel on the planet has to have some secret microchip to detect the time of year to lie to you about how much light's hitting the ground. Okay, any fantastical, overarching, at this point, screaming at the top of their lungs, relative within range of watching this video, you have now found the problem. Remove the problem from the room and listen to the rest of the video. What is the actual energy output of the sun during grand solar minimum and maximums? No, it's not something we can't check. It is. No, it's not something we can't know. These are known information. This is not unknown variables. This is not an argument you can have anymore. Okay? The Earth is covered with people who can independently check things, and do so. Total watts per square meter, or whatever measurement you want to. Watts per square yard, whatever. 1360 and 1362 are the numbers to remember. That's 1,360 watts to 1,362 watts, or 1,361 watts in the middle. That's not actually the average because you have to figure out how much time they're exposed, but that's the dynamic range of the energy hitting the Earth, grand solar minimum and maximums. Yes, I know someone's going to scream at the top of their lungs, we can't know that. I don't give a fuck, we do. So shut up. That's a 0.7353% change. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 0.04%. And rising. And the temperature changes over many, many years, which, again, scientists, quote-unquote, are lying about. No, they can't because people have thermometers. For fucking sake, we have thermometers. We have equipment we can test this with. Yeah, but there's a secret place they do the temperature measurements at. No, none of the fantasy, moo-ha-ha, supervillain bullshit is going to be here. Carbon dioxide changes in the atmosphere have been measured independently by people who can just go measure the stuff. Just like you can measure the light level. It's not the goddamn sun. The variability are plus or minus 1 watt in 1,300 watts. That's hitting the atmosphere up at the top. We're measuring it. Works out to roughly about 1,000 watts per square meter at the top of a mountain with a solar panel, figuring out the wattage levels. Yes, I understand people are screaming in the room. You have somebody about to throw your laptop or smash your computer screen, not knowing that the computer screen is not the fucking computer, it's just the screen. Seasonal water vapor gas. 10 times the effect of CO2. Yes, but it's seasonal. And it goes up and it goes down. Like the tides that some people at Fox News don't understand. Our distance from the sun to the Earth, that distance changes by 3% changes and plus or minus, and causes a 7% thermal change per year. And it's ignored entirely because seasons happen, and it can go from freezing to 115 degrees Fahrenheit on the 45th parallel in Oregon. And it's doing it more often lately, and it's not the goddamn sun. And then you will see people say, the climate has been cooling since the year 2000, and the measurements coming from it are people who desperately do not like the fact that you and I can go out and test that. That's not true. Again, the moderating factor that keeps us from being altered by just 7%, it's only 7% if it was just the sun, is the oceans and the fact that the Earth tilts back and forth. We're lucky, or you could say it was designed that way, that the Earth would have more land mass in the northern hemisphere during the period of time when we're further from the sun by the massive amount of 7%, or almost 400 Earth diameters difference in our orbit. We are not a circular orbit. Well, it's only a little bit. Yeah, it's only a little bit. But 7%, 3%, those are pretty fucking important numbers. Deciding you're going to fixate on a grand solar minimum or grand solar maximum based on it having demonstratively not the effect you're talking about, because it happens every 11 years. We're not seeing 11-year cycles. And the 11-year cycle is the same as the grand solar minimum and maximum effect. I don't like that answer, blah, blah, blah. We're not seeing that. There are only a few periods of time where we saw extreme changes, and they were caused by volcanic activity, primarily, among hundreds of other things that were happening that year. I mean, one of these incidents was just simply because a shit ton of catastrophes happened at the same time. Forest fires and volcanoes. Might be related. But deciding carbon dioxide buildup acting as a heat retainer on the planet isn't going to drive the engine of weather activity. And yes, idiots like Al Gore and other people talking about global cooling and global heating. They wanted to make it simplified. They want to turn it into nearly propaganda. Anti-wokist, anti-green, petrofascist instead of eco-fascist propaganda. Grand solar minimum and maximums are an escape hatch from dealing with a problem. And they're done entirely as propaganda. Yes, I understand that the greenies and everybody else uses propaganda as well. Propaganda used to be referred to as just the news. In fact, it was a job title, propagandist. Hell, there's a hero of one particular country who was literally just a propagandist. He was a journalist. But he was a propagandist. That's what they called it. You are in favor of one side. You're not neutral. It just means a journalist that's not neutral. We have them in this country almost exclusively. There aren't very many Walter Cronkite, mostly neutral journalists because human beings don't want to be neutral anymore and don't want to be fair. And that has broken through to being propaganda. Where did this come from? Okay, no, big oil isn't funding the YouTuber you watch that believes in this. They do fund scientists. The idea is that they were avoiding lawsuits, and I mean literal lawsuits from entire countries to like OPEC and to Enron and everybody else, saying that they were having the effect of causing damage. Since it's on a global scale, they should pay out to every country. Now think about that for a minute. If you're in a country that has rising sea levels that are directly related, graph for graph, with the CO2 level on the planet, and the CO2 level is caused by everybody burning fossil fuels. We're all guilty of this. But you find out that this was known about because it was by various oil companies years ago, like Shell, doing a study and finding out, yeah, we're actually causing the climate to change. We're making it warmer. Now think about this. At the time, they'd be thinking, okay, well, how much of a change? About 2 degrees Celsius worldwide. If you're not aware of it, Celsius is a less precise measurement than Fahrenheit. Prove me wrong. Fight me. Seriously, 100 degrees between freezing and boiling? We use 212 and 32 for that. Y'all messed up. So anyway, but that's like 4 degrees change. And it would be 4 degrees, everything shifted. Think about that. Well, it's going to express itself as the Earth trying to shed the energy by more violent storms, by more diametrically opposed temperature changes, by extremes in hot and cold weather for summer and winter. You're experiencing it. Well, no, shut up and listen for a minute. It's the sun. The sun variability here is 1 watt out of 1,300. No, it's not the damn sun. Well, it's the grand solar minimum and maximum. I'm talking about that. That's literally the maximum I can find. Well, what about the 7% and 3% per year? Yeah, you experience that every year, and it happens during the opposite time. It should have that effect. The Earth's ability to retain heat and energy and not turn into Mars and freeze, or retain too much energy and be Venus and literally melt lead in your hand while you burn, is caused by the atmosphere and the greenhouse effect. And I don't give a fuck if you like hearing it for the umpteenth fucking time. That's the one with the most extreme effect. And yes, condensation-free seasonal water vapor as a gas is 10 times more intense. But it happens every goddamn year and every day. The CO2 level is stagnating and is on a stagnant fly up. That's caused by only one thing. To Thunderfoot, it says we shouldn't just plant trees. No, we shouldn't just plant trees. We sure as fuck should plant trees, because that'll help. Every little bit helps. Deciding on one fix versus another is crap. Yes, we should increase nuclear. No, we shouldn't do Fukushima reactors because of a bad height for the wall. But we also shouldn't go Chernobyl and try to be cheap. And very importantly, we shouldn't vilify solar panels and a bunch of other things that might solve it. Everyone out there who has listened and consumed propaganda on both sides, stop listening to any of it and start learning. None of this is secret information. All of it's publicly available, and all of you can test it as citizen scientists. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. We all need it.